just got word that Nichelle Nichols died, and she was Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. And as a person who was a Star Trek fan from 1966, and I'll be 60 years old this week, Thursday. Wow. Um, she was a big part of my life because I love Star Trek. And together with my friends Bill Boyd and Lawrence Frickman, who's left us, we started the Star Trek Club at Bret Harte Junior High School in 1976. And I went on to well, establish my own media company so I could have the pleasure of interviewing my television heroes, of which Nichelle Nichols was definitely one. And I had a major crush on Nichelle as I had the opportunity to tell her because I had her poster. I had a picture of her in that transporter with Kirk and everyone. But, um, they had the short skirts in those days. And so um, she just was just beautiful. And the neat thing about my life is I had the opportunity to tell her that in 2009. Uh, After growing up the way that I did through the 70s and the late 60s. But Nichelle Nichols, as Lieutenant Uhura, represented to me something that I didn't think about at the time as a boy watching Star Trek, because such concepts as racism and exclusion are not ones you're born with in your head. You have to experience them and wonder what's going on, or just live enough life to hear about them, even if it doesn't happen to you. And so when I saw Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek, my first thought was whenever she said things like hailing frequencies open, or she opened the channel, she represented professionalism at its finest, as did the crew of the Enterprise. And the message that Gene Roddenberry put out there that endures is that we all can be at the top of our game regardless of color. And that was smack in the face, and really still is smack in the face of people who think that, for example, you have to be white to be authoritative. And some of the people who think that way happen to look like me. Um, but for me, Nichelle did that effortlessly and beautifully. And she always expressed this as Lieutenant Uhura, caring. And but people talk about actors being just that, actors, right? But I disagree. If you watch my interview with her from 2009 here on Zinni 62 on YouTube, you will see how caring she is. For example, and how gracious. Let me give you an example. She was talking to me about meeting President Obama and how that came about on camera. And a bystander at this party, uh, Star Trek party that I was invited to. Well, okay, let me tell that right. I wasn't exactly invited to it, but that's another story. I wound up being made to go to it by the late Celeste Yarnell. Remember the Apple? If you're a Star Trek fan, the Apple episode. Um, well, Celeste saw me and my friend Jennifer, and we were making a video called Kirk versus Picard, and she insisted that I go upstairs at the Waldorf and be at that party, and it's exactly what we did. And that's how I met Nichelle. Um, and Ms. Nichols was just amazing. So we were talking, right? And this woman walks by and just starts to interrupt us. And Nichelle very graciously says, "I'm in the middle of it, hun. She said, hun, I'm in the middle of an interview, but Uh, I will, we will catch up. We will talk. And she gave her a kiss on the cheek. Uh, and I don't know who that person was, but in listening to that exchange yet again, it occurred to me she had just met that person at the party. And it was one of those parties where if you were a major trekker and you were in it, you were in the room of Star Trek royalty. Uh, Nichelle Nichols was there, Bobby Clark, who played the Gorn, uh, Denise Crosby, who played Lieutenant Yar on The Next Generation, was there. Um, it was a fantastic evening. But the graciousness that is Lieutenant Uhura is also Nichelle Nichols, and that's passed down to every woman who plays that role. Because when you're playing Lieutenant Uhura, you're really playing Nichelle Nichols. Isn't that? Think about it. Just like when you play Captain Kirk as an actor, it doesn't matter if you're uh, Paul Wesley now, or hey Dave, how you doing, or or Chris Pine, who I really think got it down. You are playing her, and you're playing that. Excuse me, you're playing William Shatner's Captain Kirk, just as uh, well, for example, uh, every woman who's played Lieutenant Uhura is really playing Nichelle Nichols, and everyone who has played her wonderfully, including currently on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. They've got her down, and the her is this gracious, attentive woman who is the delight to talk to, who listens to you. There's Nichelle Nichols, who emotes, who is loving. And I really encourage you, Dave. Have you seen my interview with Nichelle here? Um, if you just Google Zenny62 Nichelle Nichols 2009, you'll see it. Um, if you haven't seen it before, please look at it, because and I should have let it go on, but I didn't want to hog the time that I had, right? And I had a lot of time with her. Now you would say, okay, how did I wind up in there? Again, it was Celeste Yarnell, and she insisted that I go. But and I thank Celeste, who passed away 2 years ago now. Dearly miss her, and it's really sad that our Star Trek family is going away as it has. Um, but we are blessed with the capability of being able to find out who they are by watching videos or my interviews, for example, not just the episodes, and finding out how wonderful these folks are. And also, in Nichelle's case, how hard a time she had with trusting the wrong people toward the later 8 years of her life. And I paid close attention to that. And I really feel for her son. And my heart goes out to him as the only child, as I am the only child, I believe. He's the only child, I think. But he was trying to take care of his mom, had a manager who was taking money and trying to make him look bad. Uh, and thank God for Walter Koenig, who played, Chekhov, for stepping up among others and saying, this is a good man. He didn't do anything wrong. And he did say that. He said that numerous times. There's a video here on YouTube of him saying that. That I actually liked it, and it's going to show up on. If it's not there now, it should be algorithmically, because that's the way I designed it, on OaklandNewsNowBlog.com. So, but getting back to Nichelle Nichols as Lieutenant Uhura, what I remember most is how gracious and loving a person she is. And again, anyone who plays that role, I say to you, please copy that, let that come through in your eyes, how you express your lines, how you express what you're saying to other people. Show that you care, because That's what Nichelle did. That's what Nichelle did. Nichelle made Lieutenant Uhura. There was, Nichelle says to me that she was talking about Barack Obama having a crush on her. She said that was Lieutenant Uhura, not me. No, it was her. And I'm sure Barack would absolutely say, no, it was her. Because there was no Lieutenant Uhura before Nichelle Nichols. She was the first to play the role on a television show that, frankly speaking, no one saw going where it went. And its success took everyone by surprise and made a legion of people, myself included, uh, as a new kind of social movement, if you think about it, a movement that prizes diversity before diversity was popular. Okay, Star Trek popularized diversity. Think about it. My first Star Trek convention, Nichelle was there, the 1976. Wow. 1976, 75, excuse me, 75 and 76 Star Trek conventions. Star Trek conventions. Classics of Star Trek is incredible. It is. And I was honored to work those conventions, to be in that room. My friends Bill and Lars, and um, we were in heaven. And then we go to the Federation Trading Post, and I would get my Star Trek technical manual. Others were into dressing up. I was never the cosplay type, but Lieutenant Uhura started a fashion trend with what she wore, and let's not forget uh, Nurse Chapel as well, and Grace Lee Whitney, um, another fantastic person to meet, and Celeste Yarnell, who was in the Apple, who became a great friend of mine, who actually I would interview at WonderCon, and um, she left us after a battle of cancer at the young age of 74 years old. We got to beat cancer, We just got to. Um, but I just want to say just how much of a blessing Nichelle Nichols was to be um, to all of us, to everybody who even had a chance to meet her once, to people who worked with her. Uh, I know there's my I'll just keep it basic relative. I think that um, has fond memories of her, and she grew up in Chicago. So it's just a sad day, when you knew someone of that caliber. What I mean by soul caliber is I mean that caliber of soul. Um, yeah, Zoe Saldana did a decent job, but Nichelle's over right. Thank you. Zoe Saldana she did, and I think Zoe Saldana's Uhura was, I felt, an excellent advancement of Nichelle's, and she brought her own grace and charm to the role, and caring. She cared. Look at how she cared about Spock, and that's the main part of it, isn't it? The fact that it doesn't matter who plays the role. Your model is Nichelle, and so it doesn't matter if she falls in love with Spock or whatever twists the different Uhura characters take. They bring with them that common decency and loving way that Nichelle brought to that role. Um, and yeah, Zoe played a much younger version of the character. Nichelle played the character 30 years, right? But again, you're still stuck. Like Zoe is stuck with having to play Uhura and having to watch Nichelle. So even if this is a great point to make, I think. Even if we're watching a younger Uhura, it's still Nichelle, and it's still Zoe trying to imitate what Nichelle would be like as Uhura as a younger version. You understand what I'm saying? Because sure, the situation was different. She had a roommate at Starfleet, Starfleet Academy. I think the roommate was Orion, if I'm not mistaken. And they were, out and dating and doing what young women do. Uh, but Uhura had her approach. She was highly professional. Remember that? Remember that scene where she understood how to decipher a message that was of importance to the future of the Federation? Remember that? That came from Nichelle. Even though it was Zoe Saldana playing it, that came from Nichelle and how she played that role and what she was asked to do. She set the model, okay? She set the model. I can go on and on and on. I better stop at some point. And what a sad day. Live long and prosper. And thank you for watching and listening and sharing your thoughts. And please continue to share them in the comments section. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com.